listening to WSIC. #1 business show in North Carolina. But sometimes we do other stuff. Believe it or not, he's a really smart guy. Okay. We'll pick that up in a minute. Okay.
You guys did fantastic with your curiosities there. I'm impressed. And
we wanted to remind you, although all of us are business people, we are also personalities of sort. We're gonna play some more of his music along with the show. James, would you like to introduce your friend, sir?
Absolutely. This is Gray Langley. He is from Ferris Cook and Associates CPAs, and they've been in business since 1978. Bob and Gray and Beth there are excellent at what they do. They've got a great office. There's a lot of paperwork in there, which tells me that they are very detailed in what they do. And because it's tax season, Gray's a perfect guy to have up here. And there's some exciting stuff coming on the horizon from the IRS and such, right?
That's right.
And he can sing too.
And he can sing. I honestly, I love the guy. I love him.
Great, thank you. That was a lot of fun, and thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about the company itself. What exactly is it that you guys do?
Well, we work with a host of entities from corporations, partnerships, trusts, and then it goes through the flow through to the individual level. We work with individuals as well who don't own corporations or have partnerships that they're invested in. So we work with a myriad of entities for companies and individuals in the Charlotte metro region. And sometimes when individuals are with us and they move to New Orleans or Los Angeles or San Francisco or New York, they end up sticking with us because of our knowledge of the tax laws.
So let me see how to ask this question. Are you a full-service accounting firm, or do you specialize in a certain area?
We're a full-service accounting firm. So we work with clients and their children and multi-generational, so we can help with designing asset transfers from estate planning and help them design their, if you will, their estate plan along with their attorneys.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Business question.
All right.
I'm going to sell a business. I got $1 million worth of equipment. Every bit of it's depreciated. I don't want to pay all that depreciation tax I'm going to have to pay to recapture all that. Can I just sell the corporation and hand that liability over to the seller? The buyer.
You can. That would be where you sell the stock in the business.
Right. So
you would sell the stock in the business. The purchaser might discount the purchase price slightly in that situation.
Shh. Hey. Remember who asked you the question here. Whoa.
I don't know which is sexier, his guitar playing or that he has great answers like that.
Yeah.
But that way you would just pay the capital gain on the sale of the stock. Yes.
And I did that on purpose because I want people listening, small business people, to hear that's what you do. We ask questions, you give us answers, and then we can decide what's the best thing for us to do. Thank you. I that was a mini test. I wanted you to do that. So let's back up.
Okay.
Obviously, because of your skills in the musicianal arena, you didn't wake up one day and decide, I want to be an accountant, did you? I mean, did you wake up on a Tuesday and say, I want to count beans? Give me a little background on yourself. Now, you don't have to go back 1962, but give me a little background on yourself personally.
So I am from Wilkesboro. Hello in Wilkes County, if you're listening. And so at Wilkes Central, I enjoyed taking accounting in high school.
So you were the guy that always wanted to count beans.
Yes.
He says that as he's embarrassed, right?
Yes, it's not a sexy thing to admit. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but I really like what I do.
Yeah, I love what I do. And so my dad said, hey, actually, you're doing pretty good with this accounting class. You should maybe consider pursuing that as a discipline in college. So I go to college and decide, you know what, I think I want to do tax accounting. And so that's what I set my mind to when I started at East Carolina, and that's what I've been doing since I graduated.
And so, talk about having partners in a business. You know, that's always this positive, negative, good, bad. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the first thing is whenever you're going to get into business with other individuals, it's just like a marriage. Know who the people are. Make sure you understand what their personalities are, and are your personalities the type that you can mesh together and build a successful business?
Can one of them drum and the other one play saxophone, or something like that?
Well, they
right?
don't all have to be musically inclined. But as you know, if they can play the mariachi, that's an important skill as well.
That's great. That's great. So, where are you guys located at?
We're in Charlotte, in what would be called the Elizabeth area. So we're in the area around the Presbyterian Hospital corridor.
And honestly, in this day and age, it really doesn't matter where the business is located. You can help them.
Right, especially with technology. I was speaking with an individual from the north of Ireland yesterday who had an international tax question who is in Winston-Salem. And someone said, hey, call Gray. He works with people that have some Irish tax issues as well.
That's got to be a specialty.
And how it converts to U.S. tax issues.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I've gotten about 6 or 7 emails from accountants telling me that I don't have to pay my taxes this year. I can postpone that a little bit. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, you have a deferral of when to file the taxes, but not when to pay the taxes.
So let me get this straight. Joe Biden told me I can be slow at sending him the paperwork, but he wants his check.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. That's kind of disappointing. I thought I could, like hold the check too.
Well, while Gray's here, let's ask him what other exciting pieces came out of that work.
There is so much stuff that's going on right now. The first thing I'd like to say, though, is to the small business owner, which is your audience.
Yes.
Okay. March 31st is the deadline for your PPP loan forgiveness. Please get those portals open and get that forgiveness.
Let me be clear. So you need to formally request for those loans to be forgiven.
Yes.
And what's that date again?
The deadline is March 31st, and your lender should have corresponded with you and given you a portal that you would provide and upload the information into. And if the loan's under $150,000, yep. If the loan's under $150,000, it's really going to be almost an automatic forgiveness.
Right.
But you have to complete the paperwork.
Do you help your clients with that, or they're on their own with that?
No, we help our clients with that, because every financial lending institution has a different portal model. Some just send you a link. Some send you a tutorial that you go through, and then you call to request the link for the size of the loan that you received. So that's the first thing.
So you're talking about the first tranche of the PPP, right? Because there's been 3 of them now, right?
Well, the forgiveness is for the first tranche. Okay, so you can still apply for the first tranche if you have not done so. And that, again, deadline is the 31st of March, so that's next Wednesday.
Okay.
And then if you've received the first tranche, the deadline for the second tranche is also next Wednesday. And the second tranche, or they call it round 2, at the Treasury website and through the lending websites, the second deadline you're eligible for if you had a decline in revenues for the year, or if you had a decline in revenues for a quarter of 25% of your revenue compared to 2019 to 2020.
Okay. So how do you keep up with all of this, Gray? I mean, it is never ending, this information. I bet you are reading on a daily basis the things that are changing.
Yes. I can't remember my children's date of birth, but and they'll always query me on that. But yes, we read constantly, and we had to have a lot of continuing education each year.
And this is an example of why you need a professional, because you cannot keep up with this. I can't imagine how a small business person could keep up with this information.
Well, there's 12 of us in our office, and so we're constantly giving each other new updates and shooting each other emails and reading stuff and then sharing it with each other. So it's not like one person has to memorize the encyclopedia.
So one more time, if somebody wanted to reach you, how could they reach you?
The easiest way would just be to call our office, 704-372-9406.
One more time, this is radio.
704-372-9406.
Okay, we're going to break. Pick up your guitar. You're going to take us out with your song. Do James and I get to shake? Here we go. Let's do it. You are listening to WSIC. Your business matters. We will. WSIC. You are listening to Local Biz Now, where your business matters. And the business people are entertaining us. Great. Thank you so much, my friend. That's a lot of fun. Thank you so much. So one of the reasons you got in this studio, because, we don't just buzz anybody in, you understand. You got to
Really?
be...
It sure felt like it.
I thought
Sure
they were
didn't
giving
feel
out,
like it,
I
did
thought
it?
they were giving out coffee and donuts. That's why I came in.
We are.
But
He caught
it's
me,
not
James.
just coffee. It's
He caught me.
delicious black powder.
That's right. That's right. So I say that because you have been working with James for some time now.
Oh, yes.
And so you get the fact that once you find somebody that's good and has got value, you really do want to help and participate in that
Right.
Long term. Talk about some of your clients, sort of the client mix that you have, because it sounds like you've got a large, diverse group of clients.
Right. So we work with a group that's so diverse. It's really incredible. It's almost across multiple industries, restaurants, retailers, wholesalers, service companies, and that's just on the real estate entities. So a lot of stuff that deals with 1031 exchanges or like-kind exchanges, for those who might not be familiar with that. And then on the individual tax side, people throughout the Carolinas. So we, being in Charlotte where we are, we're a border town. We've got people in South Carolina and in North Carolina that have multi-state tax issues, and then people that have some international tax issues as well.
So, and we touched on this briefly, which was we were talking about partners and that sort of stuff. So it sounds like you guys sort of break up your disciplines or your specialties. Is that how this is working?
Right, right.
And so walk me through what some of those specialties are for each one of your partners.
Well, so some of us will work more in the income tax area as far as it relates to restaurants have a special industry classification and receive a lot of different tax benefits. So we have some of our staff and partners that they really specialize in restaurants and the tax credits that can be created there. And then others have worked in the garbage industry, as an example, where there's different rules for garbage industry and for
Great, that's waste management. Let's be clear about that.
well, if you're in New Jersey, you call it the carting industry.
And so if I've got a tax issue, I'm going to be filtered towards you because that's your area of expertise.
Well, we all have a area of tax expertise, so it really depends upon what the tax issue is. So someone that deals with 1031 exchange issues would deal with one person,
Okay.
and that's a like-kind exchange for real estate.
Okay. And so if I'm a small business person, when I'm contacting you guys, I don't have to know exactly what my needs are, right? You guys are going to help me figure that out, because the truth is nowadays it is much different than it used to be. I used to be able to come see you and say, here's what I think I need. Today, I don't think I could do that.
Right. So what you would do is you'd come in and we'd have a conference and sit there and kind of walk through what your business model looks like and try to develop a game plan on how to help serve you best.
And so when I'm talking to other small business people, they ask the question, how often should I communicate with my accountant? When should and how often should that happen?
Well, it depends upon the size and the complexity of the business. So I would say at least quarterly, just reach out and have a conversation, sometimes a cup of coffee, sometimes just come by and have a conversation about here's what's going on. But I think quarterly works fantastic for most people.
And can that be over the phone, or do you want to be in front of them looking at the numbers? How does that work?
Well, it really depends upon the location. If someone's in the community, then it can be in person. You can meet for coffee at one of the many local coffee shops, but they don't all sell
Black powder coffee.
coffee.
That's correct.
Which is delicious. But you can also do it over the telephone. And especially, when what we have just gone through with the COVID, the majority of all the communications were done over the telephone or through Zoom.
So we've only got a couple of minutes, and you're such a treat for small business people and people that advise small business people. I know you've seen a lot of challenging things that have happened. What advice would you give some people, some small business people that are really finding themselves, especially because you guys seem to have, it looks like, a concentration in one area of hospitality. What advice would you give some small business people that are just really having a tough time? Because it sounds like about 30% are really having a tough time. So what would you say to them right now?
I would say call up your accountant and look at what you have applied for. If you have not applied for any of the retention credit, the employee retention credits, which go back into 2020 now and allow businesses that suffered declines in revenue of 20% to go back and get credits of up to $10,000 per employee that they retained when they lost revenue. And that's a godsend for a lot of small businesses. Mm-hmm. If you haven't done that round 2 PPP, assuming you've done the round 1 PPP, please, that's what the government put these credits in place for, and this loan program in place for, was to help your business survive.
If you want some help, go to Ferris Cook and Associates. Thank you, my friend, so much for being. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Why don't you pick up that guitar? Why don't you play us out? Go ahead and play us out. James, no singing. You could just shake that thing. That's all.
I like the way your sparkling earrings lay against your skin so brown. I want to sleep with you in the desert.
Ferris Cook and Associates. We'll see you next week. You're listening to Local Biz Now, where your business matters. That was great.
All right.
And now, your business moment of the week. Brought to you by Black Powder Coffee, the official coffee of WSIC. This portion of the show will bring you a business tip based on what business owners are looking for when buying a small business. Presented by our very own award-winning industry expert, Joe Vagnone. It is time to maximize the value of your small business before you are ready to sell. Back to the studio, here's Joe Vagnone.
And thanks, Nikki. I appreciate that. I'm going to give you a tip. This is tip number 1, and I want you to understand these tips that I'm going to be giving you on a weekly basis. They are for the vision of tomorrow, which means you are looking for what a buyer would be looking for, or we're speaking about what buyers are going to be looking for. So I'm speaking to potential sellers on what they should consider as they're preparing their business, because someday, sooner or later, somebody else is going to own your business sooner or later. So tip number 1, here it is. It might surprise you. Do not do your own bookkeeping. I really want you to find somebody, a professional, to be able to do that work for you. A good buyer is always looking at the P&L and a balance sheet, and they're defining the personality of your business based on your P&L and your balance sheet. And most of you out there, I don't think, know how to interpret and read your P&L and your balance sheet. Having someone else define your business in a positive light is always a better way to do that. For example, it's a lot better for me to say James is one of the best IT people that I know than it is for James to say I am the best IT person. And so this is a way that happens in a clearly defined way. Let me give you a few reasons for that. One of them is it's time and you need help budgeting accurately. Hear the word accurate. If you're doing your bookkeeping at a Friday afternoon or Saturday at 3 o'clock, I can assure you your accuracy is not as good as somebody that takes your business seriously and your accounting seriously. You want to make sure that your tax preparation is a yearly consideration. That's really hard to do if you don't know what's happening and what's changing. Number 3, maintain organized records. I know all of you say that you think that file cabinet is organized, but the truth is we need it in electronic form that we can share, and also a buyer can manipulate so that they can either add or subtract in their mind's eye some of the considerations for their future. Number 4, it's really important that you are measuring your targets, your benchmarks against other industry-like, and that is hard to do when you're in the mix of running your actual business. So that benchmarking your business is really important. I'll tell you this, without a budget and benchmarks, you're just guessing. You may think you know, but you're just guessing. Meeting government requirements is an ever-changing scenario, and there's entire groups of professionals out there doing just that. I don't want you spending your time trying to figure that out. I want you running your business correctly. Also, it gives you a peace of mind that you even though you think you've done those numbers right, I've just reviewed 5 or 6 businesses in the last 4 months, and 3 of them, their numbers were not correct. What the owners thought they were doing is not accurate. The expenses were not in the proper place, which means their numbers, their percentages compared with industry benchmarks were not right. And so how they manage the operation has changed because of the new information that they got. Which brings me to one of my things I really like. You really need to be using percentages on your P&L, because sometimes the number is not as important as the percentage of that number, what it represents compared to sales. You will learn a whole lot more about your business and your operation if you will use those percentages. This has been a way for me to help you maximize the value of your small business. It is tip number 1, do not do your own bookkeeping. If you like this information, please feel free to email me. We're going to set up a website and start putting these tips on a weekly basis. Please know that the tips I'm giving here today, they're not specifically my content. I'm just adding my thought process to what I believe somebody's thought process that I agree with. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone, and we'll see you next week.